the level is very, very mixed.
Okay. All right, we just
okay, we've
public.
just gone live now. Sarah's here. Sarah? So I think that we can see who is watching, but I don't know if they can all interact with us.
Okay.
Okay. So let's give it a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Okay, we have a couple of people joining, more people joining. Hi, Rana. Don't know if you can hear us. Oh. Okay, we just have someone having technical trouble. Okay, so Sonny, let's go for it. This will all be recorded, so we can post the video afterwards, in case people don't actually get to see it. So I'm sorry, just to everybody who's listening, welcome to this Google App Engine talk presented by my good colleague Sunny here. Everything in this video is going to be recorded, so everything you see here will be recorded on the chat and be posted later. So if anyone misses anything, then it should be available. This is, as you know, one of the lead-up hangouts to the G-Forward workshop, which is happening in Cairo in the beginning of May, which we're very, very excited about. So without further ado, Sunny, let's go ahead for your training. And we'll be having a Google Plus session with Louise-Anna straight after this as well. So anyone who wants to remain online and attend that also, please feel free to do so. So over to you, Sunny. I'm just going to go on mute. So.
Sure. Thanks.
Hey.
Hi. No problem. So I'm Sunny. I work from the Munich office for Google. I'm a software engineer. I work on primarily internal applications, and as part of my daily job, I use App Engine just about every single day. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is and why you might want to use it, and sort of some of its advantages. And then I'll do a demo and show you how you can get an application working quite quickly on Google App Engine. So can you guys see all my slides? Just make sure that's working. Are my slides showing up?
Yeah.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let's go through some of that, and then we'll move on to a demo. So the goals here of this presentation are to get you prepared for the Google for Women's Development event. And by the end of the presentation, hopefully one of you will be so interested in it that you'll want to give a 20-minute presentation about Google App Engine during the actual workshop. So get ready. So today we'll cover some of the problems with building web applications and what Google App Engine actually does to fix those problems. We'll go in some of the internals and what you can and can't do with Google App Engine, and then we'll build a live web app. So typical web applications have a lot of challenges associated with them, especially if you want to make them scale. So you have to deal with a lot of different machines and figuring out how you're going to balance your application between all of those different machines, especially if you want the application to work on sort of a global scale, which is pretty important to Google. You also have to figure out what database choices you're going to want to make and how you're going to manage the database and how you're going to keep those things in sync. And also dealing with users. So what login mechanism are you going to use, and how are you going to manage that user data? So obviously, Google App Engine sort of fixes some of these things and allows you to actually, in a box, run a web application on Google technology. So the basic idea of the Google App Engine is that it'll be very, very quick to get started, and at the same time also allow you to scale your application as large as your application may need to get. So obviously, we're talking about scale. So as Google, we're constantly talking about how many users you can have, how many different locations, how many different machines you could be running on. And App Engine provides this for you automatically. It allows all incoming requests and will automatically load balance. So it will take your request and find sort of the nearest local App Engine front end to send your request through, and then send that to an application server. We'll cover it a little bit later, but you can actually look and see how many different App Engine instances your application is running. So if you have a very low, sort of only a few users, you may have one instance running at a time. But if you have a lot of users globally, App Engine will automatically spin up more and more instances so that users get to their application faster. So within your actual application, you can have an API layer, so you can expose different services to other applications. You may have multiple individual little servlets running in each application, and those individual servlets can work with all of the Google infrastructure. So things like Bigtable, automatically using Google accounts. So users can log in with their regular Gmail or Google account to your application, and you can automatically sort of leverage some of that stuff. Memcache, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and that's the caching infrastructure so that you can make your requests a little bit speedier. And also things like image manipulation. And that's just a few of the things that you can interact with. Pretty much many of the major Google services you can interact with from App Engine. App Engine also provides a mechanism for storing data. So it's not MySQL, but it is a storage. It's scalable, and it provides instances across. We'll explain in 1 second. So it started across many, many different machines. It supports queries and transactions, and we'll go over a little bit later how each of those sort of components will work together. But the basic idea is that you're going to have entities, and each entity has a key, and you can automatically store that in the data store using basic Java. So something like you create a new object, add a couple properties, and then automatically just say to store, it'll be there, and you can query that later. That entity is also now will automatically get replicated using the Paxos algorithm to all of the other servers that are running for your application. So as I said earlier, you might have one instance running at a time, and that's not a problem, but you might have many instances running worldwide, and each entity will automatically get replicated to all of those other storage. If you're going to query the data store, it might look something like this. So in the query, you go ahead and build a query, just like you normal Java. So you might add filter. You might add multiple filters. So in this case, this is a query that will be similar to our sample application that we'll develop later. We're going to query the entity for greeting. And let's say that we want to search on some property, my property, equal to some value. We just add that filter. We can add other filters as well if we want to narrow down our search a little bit more. And we might want to sort by a particular date. Each of those are fields, so date and my property will both be fields on our greeting object. And this will return all of the greeting objects that have my property equal to my value. And they'll be automatically sorted by date, so we can go ahead and display those in perhaps a table.
The greeting is database?
Can you repeat that?
The greeting. New query
yes.
greeting. Yeah.
Yes.
It's my database.
Yes, exactly. So so greeting would be a particular object that is stored on our database. The way the App Engine data store behaves, it sort of interacts with strings. So it is assuming here that you have created greetings in your database already using that name. And I'll give you an example a little bit later about how you would store a greeting object, but a greeting would be an object type. So you might have, say, a greeting, we'll say a letter type. You might have a group of greetings, and you can query any of those sorts of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, I know I'm going very quickly, so please interrupt anytime you have questions. There's a lot here, so.
Thank you.
So App Engine supports Python and Java. We're going to focus on Java for this, as it sounds like that's what you're going to use during your workshop. But the Python interface is also very useful. There's also I think there's a few other languages, but Python and Java are the most supported. All of App Engine is also open source, so you can take a look at any of the source that you might be interested in. So feel free to take a look at that. And the admin console. So once you actually, we'll take a look at this in a bit, but once you push your application, you can monitor, and you can take a look at how many users are using your application, what the load is looking like. I get some statistics about how long it's taking for requests to respond. So if you're interested in things like speed, you can take a look here and see how long it's taking for users to actually receive requests. So you can take a look and try to sort of optimize requests that maybe are too slow on your application. I'm going to go through a demo just to let you know what I've already completed. There's a Getting Started guide for Google App Engine. It's available at code.google.com. But the three basic things that you need to get started with App Engine on your workstation are to download Eclipse if you haven't already. With that, you'll want the Java SDK. And Google provides a plugin for Eclipse. I'm sure you'll hear about this a few times during all of these talks. But it provides a lot of nice tricks to using App Engine and also Google Web Toolkit if you're interested in that as well. The App Engine SDK is also something you're going to want, and that you can get from the same URL while you're installing the Google plugin. You can also install the App Engine SDK. So I've already done that for my machine so we can get started on some actual code. But those three things I would do before you started development. So I'm going to switch over to my Eclipse environment. Feel free to interrupt at any time, and we can try different things. And I can show you some little edge cases as well if you have other things that you want to see. But we're going to go ahead and get started on a new web application. So hopefully you can see my Eclipse environment. Got it set up. Completely empty for now, because I wanted to show you from the beginning. So if I were to create a new App Engine application, go ahead and select a web application project. Should be coming up. And we're going to call this guestbook. This example is also set up, I modified it a little bit for this purpose, but it's also on the public App Engine documentation, so you can take a look and go through the tutorial yourself later if you'd like. So we're going to call our package guestbook, and we want to create a new project. We're not going to use Google Web Toolkit for this one. We're just going to use the basic UI technologies that you all are familiar with. So I go ahead and hit finish. And this will create a basic App Engine project for me with the directories already set up. What is enabling this right now is that Google Web, the Google plugin for Eclipse that I just mentioned, allows me to do this automatically, which is very nice. So App Engine uses the WAR structure, if you're familiar with it. So all of my source is going to go into a source directory, and a lot of my configuration information and static files will go into my WAR directory. So if you take a look here, it's already set me up with a little bit, a couple samples so that I can sort of get started and explore a little bit. So the important files that you need to sort of be familiar with. The App Engine web.xml file is one of the only files that's actually very specific to App Engine. And it allows you to configure your application to App Engine, and it also can configure some of your static files. So there's a lot of commenting in here, but the really important thing for now is that we need an application name. So I happen to know that my username is free, so that's my full name, and I'm going to go ahead and save that, because we're going to use that later, so that we can, when we push to App Engine, then our URL will be soniafrankel.appspot.com, and it will be version number 1. This allows you to push different versions if you want to try different things and be able to automatically switch between them. So I can show you that in a bit. The other major configuration file is your web.xml file. This allows you to configure different servlets and the URLs that they'll be served from. So if we go through this file now, we can take a look, and we have one servlet, and this servlet is in this guestbook servlet class, and we have we will be serving that from /guestbook. So anytime our application goes to /guestbook, it will automatically direct to our servlet. Anytime that a servlet is not configured for a particular URL that a user tries to go to, it will try to serve index.html from that directory that it's under. So we have an index.html file that's already set up for us. It's pretty simple. It's just going to be a little hello. And we also have our guestbook servlet class. So our guestbook servlet is very, very simple. It's just going to take a request and a response and print a response. So we're just going to say, hello world. So let's take a look at how easy it is at this point then to go ahead and run our application. So if we go ahead, and we'll do it from debug mode, so I can show you some of the debugging things. And if we go ahead and hit debug, it's going to start up our application automatically. We can see down here. It will serve from localhost 888. So it looks like it started. So let's go to our browser. And we have we have fun. All right. This is going to be very interesting. Yeah. All right. I may need to disconnect and reconnect so you guys can actually see this application. But let's try from here. All right, hang on. All right. I'm going to disconnect and I will be right back.
Okay.
All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. And I didn't need to disconnect. All right, but you shouldn't be... Okay. All right. So, all right. So you should be able to see my window again. Did you see a Hello App Engine? So this is our servlet that we just configured. And you can see our guestbook servlet. And that is just going to print Hello World. Obviously, it's very, very trivial. So let's make it a little bit more interesting. So in our application, we're going to want to have some users. So App Engine automatically provides a user service for you to get the current user. Again, that's a Google user. So any account that a user might use to log into Google, Gmail, YouTube, any of these accounts they can use to log in then to your application. So let's create a user service. And you can use a user service factory to do that. And we can use nice Eclipse autocomplete to do all those things. And then we need, let's go ahead and get our
courses. Yeah.
Our App Engine user service. And then we can get our current user. So this is now our current user object, and that provides us a little bit of information about that user. So you can get information, like as you can see here, you can get the email of somebody, somebody's nickname, if they have one set. and you can get what domain that they're authenticated to, all sorts of things. And one of the important things is that you can, if there is no user authenticated at this point, this object will be null, and you can redirect the user to a login URL. So we'll see that in a bit. Another interesting thing is that instead of using these little servlets, obviously this code is pretty trivial, we could be using this in a JSP. So let me show you how you might do a JSP file. So let's call this guestbook.jsp, and we're going to put that directly in the war file. A JSP file can go in any directory, inside war or below war, except for the webinf directory. The webinf directory is special, so any other directory should be fine. We have our JSP file here, and I have prepared the JSP ready for you guys, so we don't have to go through all of that. So if you take a look at this JSP file, this does exactly what our application just did with a little bit of extra features. So we have a user service, and we get the current user, check to see if it's null. If the user isn't null, then we can greet them with their name. Otherwise, we create a new login URL, and we're going to redirect the user to their login. So save that and go back to Eclipse. And we need to configure this now to be our greeting, so that when a user goes to any URL, it will automatically go to our guestbook.jsp file. So we're going to change index.html from being our welcome file to being guestbook.jsp. We're going to go ahead and save. Let's go ahead and stop our application and then rerun it. Let's see what we've got. So if we go back to our browser window, so this is now we've killed it. Is it running? There it goes. So we don't have any sign-in yet, so we're going to go ahead and redirect, log in. As you can see here, when you run locally, it provides a fake login service. So when you run on actual App Engine and you actually publish your application, it will automatically use real authentication, so you'll use a real account. But in this case, since it's running actually on your machine, it allows you to log in as any user. This is really useful for when you want to test. If you have different people with different roles in your application, you may want to log in as different roles when you're testing. So let's go ahead and log in. So obviously it's test.example.com, which is not a real Google account, but it's now welcoming us properly. There's some other very interesting features of App Engine. So the data store, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So let's go ahead and try a much more real example. So we want to have a guest book application, and we want to have users that can log in and sign a particular guest book. And we might have multiple different types of guest books. So let's create a new servlet class. I'm going to call this sign servlet. And we want to go ahead and create this. And we want this to be an HTTP servlet, just like our other servlet class. And we're going to have to configure this as well. So this servlet, we're going to allow people to post messages now to our guest book. And we want to actually be able to store them in the data store so that when they come back to our application, they can see the same post that they did before. So I prepared a little bit. I'm going to copy this over, and we can go through what it means and what it does. I missed our method definition. I'm obviously not very used to my using Mac, so I usually use Linux to do this. And all right. So let's do. I'm going to fix our imports as I go through and talk. So this is going to take a post request, and it is going to send back a response that will redirect the user to a page that can show all of their all of the guestbook posts for a particular guestbook. So let's take a look at what this is actually doing. So this is going to pull information. Hang on. Out of our request. So we need to pull out the guestbook name and the content of the request that's going to be coming in from our request. So this is these first two lines are going to take our guestbook name. So our request is going to pass in our guestbook name, and our request is going to pass that in the content. So the content will be the actual content that the user wants to post. Then we want to generate a key. So the way the data store works is that there are data entities and an entity group. So the entities in this case are going to be the actual greeting objects that we're going to create. And our entity group is the guestbook. So the idea is that all of the greetings are going to be gathered sort of under a guestbook entity group. Within an entity group, you're able to do transactions across the entities. But you can only create one entity group for every second. So you sort of want to use them sparingly, but if you want to do transactions across entities, you want them to be within a single group. So in this case, we're going to have a guestbook, and our transactions are only going to occur over a single guestbook. So we're going to create a key for that guestbook. Notice that we're not actually storing a guestbook object. We don't need to have a guestbook object inside our store to create that entity group. So we create a key. And then we're going to create an entity. So this says that we're creating a greeting entity under this particular guestbook key. So the guestbook, whatever guestbook name the user has sent to us. We're then going to send the content of the greeting, and we're going to set a date. So these are just different parameters that we might want to have. We can add any arbitrary parameter that we want here. So any kind of extra fields that you might want to have, like a second greeting or something. And then we're going to go ahead and store that. So this creates a connection to our data store. It is automatically provided by App Engine, and we're just going to go ahead and put that. So I've added in some logging statements so that we can see what actually is going on in our application when we run. And then at the end, we're going to go ahead and redirect to our guestbook.jsp file with the particular guestbook so they can see all of the posts. So in order to make this servlet work, I again have to add a mapping to our web.xml file. And we have two new entities in the XML that we need to create in order to add the new sign servlet. So we have our sign, and we're going to make this go to the URL sign. We're going to call this sign. Guestbook. And that now any URL that goes to the sign will automatically be directed to our sign servlet. So let's go ahead and modify our guestbook.jsp file and make it so that the user, when they can fill out a basic form, and that will send a post message to our sign servlet and store that greeting. So I've also prepared that for you, so we don't have to go through all of those details. And let's go back to So let's take a look. Who's there? This is obviously too many windows. So let's take a look at what this is doing. So this is very similar to what we were doing before. So we have our login information. That's the same thing we were doing before, redirecting if the user's not logged in. And then we want to create so data store query. So in this case, we're going to create a data store instance. We're going to connect to it using whatever guestbook name that we're on right now. So we're going to pull out the whatever guestbook. So if it's the default guestbook, it will find the default guestbook. And then we're going to query for all of the greetings that are in that guestbook. So it's very similar to the query I showed you earlier, but it's pulling all of the greetings with the particular guestbook key. So by default, it'll be the default guestbook. And then we're going to sort by our date field in a descending order. Then we go ahead and actually make data store pull that query and pull it back. We've limited the number of results to 5, which should be pretty reasonable for this particular application. And it will show a message based on whether it's empty or not. So it'll show you all of the greetings if we want to, if we have greetings, or it'll show you a message saying that we don't have any. We've also added now a form at the bottom, and our form contains just a text area and a submit button. And the text area allows us now to enter a little bit of information, whatever comment we want to post. And we've set the action to be signed. So it's going to go to our sign URL, post that greeting to our particular guestbook name, which we've had here. So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. Let's make sure that this. And so we're going to go ahead and stop our server and go ahead and rerun it. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we've now posted a new, let's go back to our root URL. Okay, so we have our greeting. We're still logged in because we logged in before. And we're going to our default guestbook, which has no messages yet because we haven't entered anything. So let's go ahead and try it. So let's say we want to enter ABC as our greeting. We're going to go ahead and post our greeting, and it's now added our greeting as an option. So we can add a few different greetings, and we can see those. And these are our various greetings that we've added. So then let's take a look and say you want to actually look at what the data store now looks like. So we have a few different greetings in here. Let's add a couple more so that it gets interesting when we look at our data. And we've automatically gotten a second URL set up for us, and it's _AH/admin on your application. If you go to this URL, you'll get a little development console window. This gives you a lot of information about your application, including a way to actually look at what your data store has inside of it. So we have a greeting entity. If we had other types, they'd be listed there as well. And if we go ahead and hit entities, we can see now all of the different objects that are in our data store and what all of their property values are. So you can see that I created a ABC entry, hello world, and hello, and they have the various dates that they were created on, obviously all created just now. So if we wanted to, we could add different properties to this and they would automatically show up. So let's say we'd want to add a column saying the user. So we might want to put that Sonia Frankel wrote all of these different comments, and we can add those, and that would automatically show up in this table for us. Are there any questions so far?
I need to ask how we can define the entity columns. There is a content and the ID.
Oh, sure. So within our sign servlet, it sort of does it automatically for us. There's a lot of magic going on here. So if you look at where we set our property content and date, these actually created 2 columns. Mm-hmm. So why don't we add another column just to see that show up? How about user? So let's say we want to do our user. Sorry, we need to get our user service again. We have our user service factory. And import. And then we want to do get current user. Okay, so now we have a current user for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go ahead and add a new column here. So we have a greeting, that set property, and we'll call it user. Why don't we pull the email address? Get email. Yeah. Okay, so now we have a user property. So if we go ahead and stop that again, and we'll run it again. We'll watch it go. Okay, and we're running. So if we go back to our browser, so we now create a new greeting. Oh, and it doesn't like that. So here's another great trick that brings up. I was waiting for an error to happen, and we're in debug mode. So since we're using Eclipse and since we're running from Eclipse, we can go ahead and actually debug what's going on. So let's go back. Actually, I'm not sure if you could see that. Switching windows too quickly for the video. So I double-clicked in the left-hand column in Eclipse, which sets a breakpoint for us. So when the application execution gets to that line, we're going to automatically break. So let's go back and try this again. We may have to restart since we errored. Let's go ahead and debug. Okay. I know what it did, but our JSP is actually broken now because I broke it. One moment. Okay. So this is actually, our JSP has been assuming that we were actually going to put a full user object, and we didn't do that in this case. So we did greeting.getProperty, and we just want the user. And that's going to pull out our user, our email address. So let's go ahead and hit save on that, and let's try that again. Okay, so we have test.example.com wrote a new post to the user, and that's created a new user column. So let's take a look at that, and then I'll show you the debugging. So now we've just added a complete new column to our greeting table, and that has our user. The other entities that were there before we added our user column are still there. They just have an empty value for that property. Pretty cool.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
So let's take a look at that debugging, though, because I've still added that. I think it's one of the more useful features. So let's add a debug post. So it automatically jumps back to Eclipse and lets us know that it wants to switch profiles. So it's going to move to the debugging profile, which if you've used it before, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of features here, and it's automatic. It showed us that we've stopped on creating the entity, which is where my breakpoint is. At this point, we can go ahead and investigate what all of our variables are, and we think the requests what we'd expect. So if we take a look at like the guestbook name, it's default. And if we take a look, let's say the content, so my post was debug, and we can see what the current user is, for instance, test.example.com. There's a ton of features here. This is all Eclipse, basic Eclipse functionality. So if you're very familiar with Eclipse, you'll be familiar with all of this. And we can continue, and it will automatically create our post. So I have one more thing to show you, and that's, let's say we've completed all of our our application or we want to actually see it on the web. So if we go to appspot.com, let's see, so we can create a new application. So I'm going to create it with my username, which is typically available. It's a really, really great way of testing your application. Just use your own username, and you can save. I like to save that as my own personal sort of test instance. So we can name it whatever we want. It has a few settings down here with authentication. I'm just going to use it default, and I want it to be open to all Google users. And we're going to use the general App Engine data store, which is what we've been using thus far. High replication, which is the newest data store that App Engine offers. It's a little bit faster and provides a lot of new features. And we've created our application. So our application already exists, it's already serving, and it's ready to go. So let's then go ahead and take a look at our dashboard, which will not be very interesting yet. It's completely empty. This is my personal dashboard, which is a view of my application. On the left, you can see all kinds of different information about, so there's no instances serving yet, so we're in our dashboard view, but we can take a look at how many instances were up, if we had any, and a little bit of information about what each instance is doing. We can take a look at our logs, so any logging statements that you put in your application can show up here when you're running, and we can take a look at our versions. Again, we have nothing yet. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit more interesting, and let's push our application from Eclipse. So if I can find my Eclipse window. So if I go back to my Google plugin for Eclipse, I can select Deploy to App Engine. It's going to go to the guestbook project. We want the guestbook project to deploy. I've already configured in my App Engine -web.xml file that I want the ID that I want is Sonia Frankel. So it's going to deploy for Sonia Frankel and version 1. So let's watch that go. It'll take a minute. But once this is complete, we'll actually have a version that is now serving on the internet, and you should be able to get to it actually from your machines.
Super.
It's almost done.
Super easy. I like it.
Yeah, me too. This is the part that's easy, right? So,
yeah.
Here we go. So it said that it was done. Let's take a look. Yep, so we now have a version 1 that is serving. This is our default version. We can push a version 2, version 3, whatever we want. And we can get to that through a specific URL. So let me show you what this looks like. So if we go now to soniafrankel.appspot.com, you should see our application. It'll take a minute to load. That's cool. So it's giving me an error because I haven't set up my data store properly. This is all set up in here. So inside our App Engine dashboard, I haven't done this in a while, so we'll see if this works. So it looks like it's building our table so far. So hang on, and hopefully we'll have some soon. As you can see inside our dashboard, we can do all kinds of fun things once we have our data store ready to go. We can play with different queries and test them out, which is pretty useful if you want to sort of see if the query is valid before you actually go to put that into your application. And you can, as you could before, you can take a look at all the entities that are in your data store and see what that looks like. So there's a lot of things here. We do have our dashboard now. We should see, still not very interesting because we just pushed, but there's one instance running right now with a very low query per second and average latency of 3,775 milliseconds. So there's a lot of data here if you had a running application and wanted to monitor it. And again, our logs, which you can see now our error has shown up in bright red. and it's telling me that the index for the query is not ready to serve yet. It should be because I believe we just pushed. So let's see if it's ready. No. So it is currently building my index. Yeah. So what App Engine does for indexing different things, in this case we asked it to sort by date, which means the data store needs to be able to automatically will recognize that we're going to ask the application to sort by date, and will automatically add that to a specific index file that we have actually within our application, and it gets updated automatically for us. So actually, let's take a look at that. And then, if I can find it. I know it's very hidden. It's not here. It's not. I'm not sure where it is actually. It is in here somewhere. There's a data store indexes file. You can find the documentation for it all online, but it will automatically add an entity that tells App Engine that it needs to be able to index the date field. So anytime you add a new query, you can add different parameters, whatever. Let's say we wanted to sort by username. That will automatically put a configuration parameter into this file, and then App Engine will automatically know that it needs to be able to index that user field. So what App Engine's currently doing is adding those indexes, because I just pushed, and I rushed a little bit too quickly to make that query work. And so as it's adding those indexes, and then we'll be able to actually see the application work. So hopefully by later today you'll be able to hit my instance, and you all should be able to get to soniafrankel.appspot.com.
Thank you.
That's all I had to show you for now. There's lots and lots of features for App Engine and a ton of public documentation that you can take a look at. It's all posted on code.google.com, and you can take a look. You guys have questions?
Nope, thank you.
Great.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I think that's all I had then to show. And that'll give you a little bit of a break before the next presentation comes on.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. So Louisella will be teaching everybody about Google Plus in about 10 minutes. So please rejoin. We will stay on this Hangout, so it will be the same link. If you guys want to stay, then that's totally fine.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, just wanted to say we are about to start in 5 minutes. Okay, I think we can start. So everybody should be able to see me now. Is everybody back? If you are back, give me a message in the group chat. You can find the chat in the top left side of the window. Okay, while we wait for everyone to be back, I just want to introduce myself and welcome everyone. My name is Grisella, and I work at Google. We may have met in Egypt, I hope, during one of the G Days, the annual conference that we run in occasion of an annual event. And today we're going to talk about Google+. And we are going to take any questions you may have. Let me remind you, this will be recorded, so if you want, you can watch this later as well. And another thing I wanted to say is, if there are any questions, post them in the chat or post them on the profile. I think that everybody by now should know we are streaming live. And I think that it should be pretty straightforward, right? We are already on Google+, and we're going to talk through a presentation that will be shared afterwards. So you can see the video, watch the slides, ask questions. And another important thing is I'm going to ask a volunteer. At the end of the session, we're aiming for you mentors to be able to present on this topic to someone else on the day of the event, which is 2nd and 3rd of May in Cairo. So please do let Patricia know that, and myself, if you want to volunteer. Okay, so it will be, you'll have the opportunity to mentor others by explaining this topic with a short 20 minutes presentation. You probably already received an email about this, but we're going to ask one person per topic to volunteer on this. Okay, with this, I'll try to start with a screen share. Let's see if this works out well. Screen share. Let's see. Hold on a second. One moment. Okay. So in a moment, it should appear my screen, which is a presentation about Google+. Let me see if you are also seeing this. Yes, you should all be seeing this. Okay. So, presentation was started in March 2012. We have gone through a pretty heavy Google+ redesign. However, the concepts are very similar, so if you notice something different, don't worry, just because we got to redesign. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is how Google+ is not just a social product, but really is the platform that Google is creating across all products. Google's core product is Google Search, and social plays a pretty critical role, and particularly Google+ plays a pretty critical role in how social is embedded in Google's core business, so Google Search. This is the question we asked ourselves. How can we make search more relevant by surfacing recommendations when they matter? How do I make sure that if I like something, or if I favor something, or in other words, if I +1 something on the web, how do I make sure that this helps others that may be looking for the same thing? This is an example of how we are doing now. The first column on the left-hand side is what Google Search looked like before Google+. We are looking for the word Chrome in Google on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side we are looking for the same word, Chrome, but we have a completely different set of results. So here in the left-hand side, as you can see, there is a number of results, but no social signals. On the right-hand side, I immediately know that if you click on these first set of results, this has been recommended by a Google user, a Google+ user. In this case, somebody in the past has clicked on the +1 button next to the search result for google.com/Chrome. So how do you +1 something for search? It's very easy. If you are logged in, basically it will appear with a +1 button next to the search result that you can click, and it will be recorded in your Google+ account history. So we're going to give it a try later on this. Actually, let me see if I can try now. And I will need to, okay, toggle and screen share. Let's see here if I can share another screen, new window. What I want to demonstrate is how you can simply +1 something on the web. See, okay. So let me try to share this. So I'm on Google Search. and I search for the word Chrome. And I see that because I'm logged in, I get a set of recommendations that I can click on. They are called the personal results. And these are those recommended by my friend. And if I click on any results, as you can see, I could click on +1, and it's, when I pass mouse over the results, it will say recommend this page. If I recommend this page, it will appear in my Google Plus profile that we're going to take a look on. Why would I do that? Because basically I find something useful, and I want to make sure that my friends and my connections basically can take advantage of what I can mark as interesting or as useful. As you can see, if you're logged in and if somebody has marked in their +1 previously that page, you can click on, you can see that there is a little icon on the left-hand side here, and you will see how many people recommended it, in this case 183, and how many people commented on this. Okay, so I can read all of this by clicking here. It will go to the page that has been plussed, and will tell me how many, what are the comments that people posted on this particular page. Okay, so back to our presentation. Should be here. Hold on. So this was the +1 button in practice. As I said, Google Plus is not just a way to share on the Plus platform, but a way to share from any Google property. In this example, what I'm doing here is that I have selected a location, which is Accra, Ghana in this example, and then by clicking on the location, I can immediately share with a message to a selected amount of people or publicly that I recommend this location. So this is just to demonstrate that you can embed Google Plus, that Google Plus is embedded in Maps too. Google Plus is embedded in YouTube as well, similar principle to what Google Search does. I can recommend and share videos directly from YouTube. So let's go and give this a try. Let me see if I can do that for you. I start a new window for youtube.com. Go to the video. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me try to reshare this. Sorry. I'm also sharing the music of the video. Stop. Okay. I'm trying to share the YouTube window from here, but it's a bit tricky. Hold on. And here. So go here. Can everybody see I'm going to YouTube? Because I'm not feeling like, not sure that it's actually showing what I'm doing. Let's see. Yeah, it's showing it. Okay. So I can go to a video. When I click on share, it will tell me that I can share on Google Plus by clicking on the plus button, or even hang out with others and watch this with my friends, just like we are doing now, so that we'll be able all to watch and comment on the video at the same time. Okay, back to our presentation. See if it's working. I think you can't see the presentation yet, but hold on. Presentation is here. Okay. So this was sharing on YouTube. You can also share directly from Gmail. So the idea is that every attachment of Gmail will come with a separate button that is called the share link. So you can share attachments such as picture, as in this example. I can view the picture, I can download it, or I can share directly on Google+. And I can also organize my family and my friends and all the people in my circles, which are organized in Google+, and read their email separately. So Gmail is completely embedded into, circles are completely embedded into my Gmail account. That's an easy way to see all the messages coming from the same person or from the same circle of person in one go. How is the +1 button working? This is a link where you can find more information, google.com/webmasters/+1/button. So the presentation and the links will all be posted, but in case you want to learn more. Okay, step 2, how to bring relationships online using Google+. You have already gone through these first steps, which is starting your profile, adding people. One thing that I want to point out is that to let people know that it's you, you may want to spend a little extra time focusing on the profile. So if you edit your profile, you have to go into Google Plus and click on About. And once you're done with editing, click on Done Editing. And this is the space where you help others find you. So make sure that you spend a little extra time filling in your about information with as many information as possible. If you want to add people, that's as well easy. We typically recommend people that you can add on the right-hand side of the screen. And we also recommend them in streams for you. So you can follow directly a group of people that we have organized for you. In this case, we have organized by famous on Google+, entertainment, fashion, food and drink, etc. So we try to make it easier for you to find information and interesting people to follow. Okay, let's see. Okay, next steps, how to create circles. So this is an interesting bit because one of the most interesting features about Google Plus is how you can share different things with different groups of people. So that's the concept of circle. A circle will help you distinguish what you can share with someone but you don't want to share with someone else. In this example, I'm going to show you how we are going to create a circle and share some particular type of information only with a selected amount of people. In this case, I have the answer to my question, how was your trip? I share obviously different information with my mom, my friends, or my boss. So let's go give it a try. I'm gonna try to stop sharing and share in a different window. Hold on. Okay, now I need to share a different window here. can share. Google Plus. Okay, so you should be able to see the window where I'm working on Google Plus. So on my Google Plus interface at the moment. Okay, so how can I go and first off create a circle of people that I want to share stuff with? Click on More and then on Circles. And I want to create a circle of people that I can share stuff with and are my ladies friends at Google. So I'll create a circle. And I will call ladies at Google. And then I will start adding people. Let's see if we can find it. Where is she? Okay, I can't find my friend Sue, but I'll try a different. Patricia, who is online now. Patricia at Google. And my friend Farah. Johan. She's also Google. So I think we are done. I created a circle with 2 people. So there it goes. And from now on, it will appear in this list. I can also modify it where it will appear and reorganize it and move this across various sides of the screen. So you just need to drag and drop. Okay. There is another interesting thing that we launched recently. It's called the ribbon. On the left-hand side, depending on how much you use things that you may find useful to keep handy, you can just click on the function and position it in other sides of the ribbon. So for example, if I modify my circle all the time and want to keep them visible here and easy to access, so I can just click and drag and drop and move the application in a way that is more suited to me. Another thing, say for example, I want to move a little farther down the Explore tag, the Explore option, just take it and drop it here. Okay, so I created my circle with my 2 friends. I can go home and back to my original start page, and I can share something. I'm going to share hanging out with the ladies in Egypt, and from here, because I move the circle on the left-hand side to be the first, it also appears as the first in the drop-down menu. Okay, so that makes it easy to share this information that probably wouldn't be very interesting to my family or other acquaintances or other people that don't know really what we are talking about, and I can share it by clicking on share. So if you are ever in doubt on whether something you share that is visible to others, what you can do is click on limited, and it tells you who has access to this post. In this case, it's my circle, Farah and Paddy. Or you can go to your profile, and what you can do is click on View as Public, and it will present you a different version of your profile, and this is what everyone in the world can see, no matter if they are signed in or not to Google+. Okay? So as you can see, because the post that I posted earlier is only shared with the ladies at Google circle, it will not appear in the public page. So if by any chance you want to double check what you're being sharing with the rest of the world that everyone can see, just go to your profile and click on view as public. Once you're done, you can then click on stop viewing as public. Okay, so back to our presentation. Let me see. I can share the other. The G+ overview. Back into our presentation in a second. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it's easy, as you've seen, to share and control who you're sharing with. And in this example, Michael is sharing a post with his circle, Google, and a few people in a conference. So that it's not public, it's limited view. If you want to have a different view on your profile, so say for example you are trying to organize what you see in the stream by priority, you can just click on the stream on your left hand side and only see things that people from that stream posted. This is all information that I presented on the version of Google+ for your mobile, for your desktop. So for example, if you're logging in from your home, from your computer, from your laptop. But what if you are on the go? What if you are not in front of your computer? Okay, let me first try to see if I can share the. I don't think I can share a mobile screen, so I'll just go ahead here, and I'll first highlight how we can share on Google+ from any device, not just from computers, but also from tablets, from ordinary phones, and from advanced smartphones. The first thing, if you have a data plan, it means you can browse the internet with data. So if you have, in most cases, a smartphone, that's what works best with the data plan. All you can do, you can simply access Google+ in your browser by going to plus.google.com. You can do a number of things. You can check what people are posting in the stream. You can watch photos, and you can manage your circles. This is what the home screen looks like, and this is how you can manage your circles. What if you don't have a data plan? We have thought of a different solution for those that don't have a data plan but still want to share on Google+. And we let people share, in this case, with an SMS. So you can access, with the cost of an SMS, Google Plan without having internet access on your mobile. Let me just check if everything is okay. Okay. So, how do you share with SMS on Google+? What you want to do is that you go to google.com/settings/plus, and you need to verify that it's you on that mobile phone. So you need to get a verification code. A verification code basically attaches your Google+ profile to your mobile phones. And so you go to the verification code page, link from google.com/settings/plus, you receive a code via SMS, and then you confirm your code. So once you receive the code, go back to the page and enter the verification code that you received. How do you share from your mobile phone via SMS directly to Google+? In this example, Jajit on the left-hand side is sending an SMS to a particular carrier code. So for every country, you have a different carrier code, and you should check yours for Egypt. So once you verify, you see in this page goo.gl/, DW7MC, but we'll send all the links later on. What is the carrier? Depends on basically which telecommunication company you are using. Every communication company has a different shortcode. In this case, Jajit is using the shortcode 9222, etc. And he's posting a message that will go directly appear in his profile. A few interesting things about his profile. Here, you will see that he wrote in the SMS plus family. Plus family means that it's only shared with his circle called family. And in fact, you see that his post here is marked as limited. It's not public. And we also remarked that the message was posted via SMS. So it appears as the time you sent it, the device you used, and who it's shared with. Okay, say that the conversation is starting. Jajit has sent an SMS to his family, to his circle, and the circle is all of his family. His family, some members are starting to reply. So there is a comment to his post, and all he needs to do to continue the conversation on his mobile phone is basically to keep replying to the notification that he gets on his mobile phone. So he can continue his conversation even if he's not online, and he will get all the notifications as SMS. You can decide which notifications you want to receive on the Google Plus settings page, which are, as we said, google.com/settings/plus. Okay, let me see if everything is okay. Just want to check if somebody are there any questions at the moment? Anyone wants to ask any question? If you have any question, type them in the group chat. Okay, no questions? Everybody happy with this? Okay, all good. Okay, let's move on. I go back to our presentation. Hanging out, that's what we're doing now. There's an interesting thing that you can play with, which are the latest masks we are using. We could give it. Let's see if we can give it a try. One interesting thing is that not only you can just talk in a group of up to 9 people at the same time, but you can also invite others. You can share the screen just like we're doing now, watch a YouTube video together, share a doc, or use some fun masks like we're doing now. Let's see if we can add some special effects here. Oops. Featured, so we could, for example, add the Google effect. I see a comment which is Egypt is not listed now. Okay, if your telephone company is not listed now, it means it's still under development, but keep checking as we are continuously adding telecommunication companies at all times. Okay, so let's see if I can add something funny to my profile. If you're not speaking, please mute, because we can hear a lot of background noise. Okay. Go back to the apps. And I think, yeah, you should be seeing that now I'm wearing a funny hat. I hope that this is visible to everyone. Or I could add something else. it's working. Still loading. Okay. Like a tiara or there it goes. So you should be able to see me wearing different things at this time. So that's a nice Hangout or a funny Hangout application. Okay, so I think I can switch off my my tiara, or I can keep it on. Okay, and switch it off. All I've done is that I clicked on apps and then I choose funny Google effects. But you can also click in your top bar. There is this small stars near screen share. All you need to do, click on that. It says Google Effects and then select an effect from there. Okay, let's go back to screen share and go back to the presentation. Okay, so this is how you interact with people you know and people you're hanging out with. How can we interact with people that are, for example, our customers? We have an interesting feature in Google+, which is called the Google+ Pages. And the first step to try out is to create your own Google+ page. A Google+ page is not a Google+ profile. It's similar in principle, but it's basically a separate entity that is dedicated to a topic, such as, for example, your business or your club or your society. So you are logged in. We go to the Google+ stream, and we create our plus page. So let's go give it a try. Hold on. Need to go back here. Stop sharing. It's getting a bit slow. I don't know what's going on. But if this crashes, please stay tuned. So hold on there. Okay, let me screen share here. Google+. Not sure everybody can see a window. Okay, I'm sharing a window where there is my profile. It's actually Matt's profile, who kindly let me use his account. So what I'm gonna do, click on more. No. So click on home. And it disappeared. Okay, click on more and then click on pages. Create new page. And I'm going to create a new page about, let's say, for example, I have an organization. Okay, say student, actually, Googlers Club. Googlers London Club. I don't have a website, and I want to specify that anybody can watch this. I agree to the page terms, which I really recommend that you should be reading at this stage. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip this, but please make sure that you have read all the Google+ pages terms, and then click on Create. Oh, oops, I forgot to select the category. Let's say that we are a group about entertainment. Media, news and publish, non-profit, definitely non-profit. Create. So it's going to take a while, at least a second or two, and it's going to be a brand new empty page. So this is the time when we start customizing this plus page profile. Tagline, a dedicated page for people living in London and enjoying. Let's see. I'm going to skip the photo. I'm not going to share this with my circle since we can do this later, but it would be a very good practice to make sure that everybody in your circles knows that you have started your page. Okay, so now I am ready to post on my page. As you notice here, it's giving me a heads up that we are now using Google Plus as a page owner. So everything that I post, it will be shown on the page's profile and not on my personal profile. Okay, I can post on my page. And it works exactly like Google Plus for people, but with a slightly different interface. So I want to go back to the presentation to show you how a real business page looks like. So stop the screen share for a moment. Go to screen share again. And I take back my presentation. So let's see if you can see it. Done? Yes. Okay, so I've created my page here. I have done the first step. In this case, Ryan Stonehouse is creating his own page, and it's exactly the same thing. So in this business page, the Stonehouse Coffee Bar has started their own business profile. An exercise that I'd like everyone to do after this, and then when we'll have the workshop in May, will be to create a basic Google Plus page, either for a club or a society that you belong to, an organization, or for your own business, so that you can then teach others how to do that. So what happens here? The owner of the cafe has added a profile picture and information about the business. You can add more pictures as you go, and they will be appearing on your top side of the page. I really recommend you fill in as much information about what the business is. So great coffee for great people, and a contact phone number, and an official website if you have one. You can connect your website to your Google Plus page by adding on the website a Google Plus badge. You can just go to google.com/plus/learn more, and then you will see how to create your badge to place on your Google Plus website. I'm going to show an example of a page that is linking to a Google Plus page later on. As I said, when you start posting on your Plus page, you are creating a separate identity. So your personal profiles will not be mixed with your page's profile post. So it's two completely different things that you can toggle and decide which one you want to post from. Some creative example, this is a Pepsi page. As you can see, they make a really big effort in coming across as dynamic and interactive with their audience. How to get more audience? Let's make sure everyone in the world know about this. On the Plus page, you can spread the word by clicking spread the word. It will post on your other profile. This creates a dedicated post this kind of a hello world. You can share pictures, link to a website, and some information. Make it public so that everybody in the world can see it. If you want to add a +1 button, then we're going to see an example on how to do that to your site. So it's a good idea for those that have a website that is well established and want to make sure that traffic from that website flows into their social presence. You can create circles just like we did for Google Plus personal pages, but in this case, they are even more powerful because, say, for example, you want to have a special offer for those customers of yours that you know will visit the cafe early. So the early risers will see a dedicated Plus post with a special offer, such as a discount for those that visit before 8 a.m. And you can create a separate circle for those that are into study groups and that come study to your cafe and share particular useful information that it's only relevant to them and wouldn't be appropriate to be sharing with this other group. As you see, who you're sharing with always appear in the bottom of the Plus post. Some tips. Sign your posts. Always make sure people know who they're talking to. Put a face to your brand. Fill in as much information your about profile. Makes people stick to your business page. Interact with your community. There is nothing sadder than a page that is only for broadcasting announcement. Ask people questions. Ask which circle they want to be in. In this case, would that be a question to be an early riser or a study person? And get people to talk on your page. Which posts work best? So if you have images, videos, or audios that you can share in your posts, that create much more engagement than just text posts. How to measure impact? Well, if you have signed up with Google Webmaster Tools, which is available at google.com/webmaster, we will tell you how many people have clicked +1 on a page of your website. So they are basically how many people are recommending a page of your website. And you can see how people are sharing the post that you posted and how much that post is sharing in public. So in this example, the Dalai Lama has created a post that has been shared by 175 people. So you can see it for each post that is public, we'll see how ripples are visible from that post. In this case, you see how many people have shared something and what their names are. On the right-hand side, you see a snippet of who has been shared what. How to measure impact? If you logged in Google, you can see and you search for, say, for example, your website, you can see who has +1 your website. I would really recommend that if you're posted on a specific topic, you stick to using hashtags, basically the # followed by a specific word that you can follow the stream on, and adapt your strategy. See what the trend is and be flexible. There are two very useful Google pages that I would recommend you start following on Google+. You search for Google+ your business page in Google+ to find the page and start following it. And then there is an official page called google.com/plus/business for more information about the product and a getting started guide. So I think we are at the end of the presentation. I'm going to go back to my regular screen share and see if I can see how I can add the Google+ business page to my interesting page to follow. And see if I can do that from here. Wanted to show you how to find a page in Google+. Okay, let me see if I can share this now. So I'm on my profile again. Hold on. I want to find this page, which is Google Plus your business. As you can see, it appears in the drop menu. I can click on this, and just like I would follow a normal user, I can follow this page. Click on follow, and then it will let me decide in which circle I want to put this page. So I'll put that in a new circle called Interesting Pages. Create. And there it goes. So from now on, the updates from this page will appear in my own stream. If I want to stop following this page at any time, I can go back to the page, click on the green button, and unflag it. Let me do that. And it will stop following, so I will not see anymore the updates from this page into my stream. See what else I've left out? Okay, yeah, I wanted to show you how an example of a website that is creating a badge that is connecting to his G+ page. So this is Timothy Jordan, who also works at Google. And you can see that he has created a plus badge. So I can directly go to his profile from this plus badge. And I can add it to the circles directly from his page without being on Google+. You can do the same for if you have a business website and create a badge for your plus page for your business website. How it works, you go to google.com/plus1+1. Plus one button. So as you can see, if you're lost at any time, we have a dedicated help center which is available at support.google.com, which explains in much more detail what you can do with this information that I've just shared with you, but in a step-by-step mode. So in this help center, I can see what I would probably need the most. So an information about the +1 button, how to share, where it will appear, etc., etc. So badge, let's see if it lets me find a badge. Linking to your website. So I created a plus page, correct? Add the Google badge to your website. And that explains step by step how to make sure that the two are connected, my website and my plus page. I go to Google Plus and your site. If I want to add the Google Plus button to my site, I will just go create a snippet of code here. So I'm on google.com/webmaster/+1/button, and I can create automatically a little button, just like Timothy did. Depending on which parameters I decide, it will change it for me. It will create a little bit of code here. sorry, here, that it will be easy to copy paste directly onto my HTML page. You can customize these options, but I don't think there is any need in most cases. So it will look like this at the end of the day. Okay, I think with this, we are pretty much at the end of our presentation. And I wanted to ask if there was any questions that I can take. Let's see if I can get back to stop sharing. Okay. Okay, no questions. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Karim, Sundus, I hope you're also there. Awesome, thank you very much. And as Paddy mentioned, this presentation will be shared later on, recorded, and I also encourage one of you to please apply as a mentor, and that can present for 20 minutes this information to others in the Cairo workshop of the 2nd and 3rd of May. So please, where should we apply? We are going to send you a dedicated reminder email where you can apply, so that we start outlining who is up for this. Okay, I think we are done. Thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day. Goodbye. Bye.